spreadsheet, an Excel file, in which all of these ideas that we've talked about in terms of the real sector, monetary sector, so on and so forth, has been put together. I also want to show you where a lot of this data comes from, so that you can understand if you want to do this for Vietnam later on, where to get the data from. If you want to do this for another country, then that should be possible as well. Let me come back to this later. Let's first do the macro framework. Okay. If you go to Moodle, if you can download the macro framework from there. And if you go to the first worksheet here, which says SEI, it should look something like this. Okay? Look at the structure of this sheet. This sheet has roughly the structure, the same structure as the IMF table on selected economic indicators that I showed you this morning. And what does it have? It first has a section up to line 11 on output and prices, output and inflation. It then has a section on public finances, which is the fiscal sector. Next, it has a set of lines on the monetary sector. And finally, it has Vietnam's balance of payments. There's some information on the exchange rate of Vietnam, and then it has some other things. It's the GDP of Vietnam in billions of dollars, in trillions of dollars, and billions of US dollars. Okay. How should we proceed on this? Do the following. Just delete all of these things in green. Don't worry, they'll come back again. Take that out. What I want you to do now is to have some fun. So, if you look at this number 2.6, which is the real GDP growth of Vietnam in 2021, find out where this information, where this number is coming from. And the way to find out where this number is coming from is to go to formulas. So click on formulas and say, find out where this number came from. When you click on 2.6 and click on formulas, and so trace precedence. Precedent means find out where this number came from. Okay? If you click, you will see something like that. Double click on that arrow. When the box opens up, you can click on that particular location and say OK. It should take you to another sheet. Remember, you were sitting here, and now after you found out where that number came from, you're sitting in this sheet. Right? After you find that number 2.6 in this sheet, once again ask yourself, where did that number come from? And it should give you 2 arrows. Right? And if you take the 2.6, look at the formula for 2.6 here. Where did the 2.6 come from? It came from real GDP in 2021 divided by real GDP in 2020 minus 1 by 100, which is the growth rate of real GDP. Okay? Found it? But then where did 5134 come from? Okay, so I know where the 2.6 comes from. Now I want to find out where did this number come from. Okay, so once again I click on 5134 and say, where did this number come from? And again it gives me an arrow, and when I click on that arrow, it says go somewhere else, and all of a sudden I find myself in a different sheet, and I find that number, which is 5133. Which is fine, because this is in billions of dong and that number is in trillions of dong. So this is the final place for the number, but where did this number come from?
Website.
From where? That's right. Okay, now you are getting the hang of it. Okay. So now I have to go somewhere and find this number 5133589. What is this number? It is the real GDP of Vietnam in 2021. Where should I go to look for this number? Why do I want to go to Washington, D.C.? Why can't I just go to Hanoi? Let's go to Hanoi. And going to Hanoi means we go to the internet. Let's go to the National Statistics Office of the Government of Vietnam. You don't need to go that far. nso.gov.vn. This is Honkien for sure. Hanoi. This is that turtle temple, right? That's the turtle where the king, the sword came down from the sky or something happened to the turtle. Okay, find that number on this website. Let's see if you can find that number on this website. Remember what number you're looking for? You're looking for the real GDP of Vietnam in 2021. Find the number on this website.
National account. Gross domestic economic sector. Year. And then we choose the year. National account.
And find the number 5133 something, right? Remember that I'll show you the number that you're looking for, right? I can show you. I want you to find this number. Actually, if you find this number, you'll find all of these numbers too. All right?
Yeah, exactly. 1, 3, 3, 5, 8, 9, 10.
It gives everybody else a little bit of time.
Sao mà hôm nay nhìn lại thế?
Come, let me find it out. You didn't have to go to Washington to find it. It's in the this number. Right. It's the base least rate. The base rate. Good. Not yet. Not yet.
Want to what is it? I want to choose all.
I think you chose. I think okay. No, don't do Excel. Excel doesn't work. Go to comma delimited to heading. Look at it. Got it?
So here.
The Excel thing doesn't work with the NSO
Yeah.
for some reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
First one, Excel.
Okay? This is data produced by the Statistics Office of Vietnam. And what is this? It's the real GDP of Vietnam in 2021 at 2010 base year. Okay? So, if you've done some national income account statistics, you will know that to calculate real GDP, you take the prices of a base year, right? You calculate the real GDP using the prices of that base year for the years going after as well. That there's a difference between nominal GDP and real GDP. Real GDP is the calculation of the value of goods and services in the prices of the base year. Nominal GDP is using the prices of the current year. And the difference is the GDP deflator, which is a measure of inflation. You've heard these terms before? Okay. So you managed to find out the real GDP, right? And so basically what we did was we found this information. Okay. Let's do a little bit of analysis with this information and clear these things out, fill them up and see what it is that we're calculating. The first thing is just calculating the percentage change. And how do you fill these columns? You can use the formula from this column and copy it to the other three columns. It's very simple. So this information basically came from the NSO. Okay. And after we got the information from the NSO, we can process this information, we can analyze this information to ask what the growth rates were in the different years for the different components of aggregate supply, because this is from the supply side. Remember, in the circular flow of income, this is the goods and services produced in agriculture, manufacturing and services. It was that bottom part of that pipe. So finding growth rates is not that hard. And notice, why was the growth rate in 2020 and 21 so low? COVID. You get a huge shock. You get a huge external shock. COVID didn't come from Vietnam, it came from outside. You had a very large external shock that leads to a disruption of a very large scale, and you have a huge decline in GDP. Okay? And your growth rate falls. We can also calculate the percentage share of the different components of aggregate supply in GDP by just taking the number, dividing it by the total, and multiplying by 100. We can also calculate the contribution of the different components of aggregate supply to growth. And what does that mean? It means that 0.4% of the growth in 2024 came from agriculture, 3% of the growth came from manufacturing or industry, 3.3% came from services. When you add all of these numbers, what should it add up to? 7.1. Okay? And that will be the case. So if I take the sum of these numbers, it adds up to 7.1. So This is a simple decomposition of real GDP growth into its different components. And the biggest source of growth in 2024 was service sector. And in fact, after COVID, right, so this is COVID, look at the biggest growth comes from services. Because everything was shut down. You could not go everywhere, anywhere. So as soon as the restrictions are lifted, you can go outside, you can eat outside, you can do everything outside. So there's a very large contribution to a very large rebound in the economy from the service sector. And you can see, once you've done all these things, you get a nice chart in the next sheet which tells you what real GDP growth in Vietnam has been for the last 15 years. 15 years? Yeah, 15 years, 14, 15 years. Right? This is COVID. This is the huge recovery from COVID. Okay? And these are the contributions of the individual sectors, supply side sectors to real GDP growth. Make sense? Can we take a break now? For 10 minutes? If you don't want to take a break, you can start doing some of the other things that you want as well. Let's take a quick break for 10 minutes. We'll come back.